Yep. Let's continue patch 7.3. Right, I'll get this door open. Ooh, smooth as silk. Let's head inside and see what awaits. Gods above, isn't that? The key to interdimensional fusion. That looks to be a schematic on the monitor. And they've used it to make another key. But isn't it missing the shards inside like the one Yo has? Ah, we may have been laboring under a misconception. The key was originally a Metallia relic. Once this treasure came into its possession, however, preservation began working to harness the power to cross dimensions. Aside from the crystal, we can see that all the vessel components were constructed here. So what might that tell us? The crystal itself is the key. That would be the logical conclusion, yes. It is as my parents explained. The key remained shrouded in mystery. Preservation augmented it with electro, but never grasped the technological underlying principles. To this day, not a single person understands the mechanics of interdimensional fusion. Not who imbued the key with its power, not when they did so, nor why. Now it makes sense. Silax can track the key because its vessel was made by preservation. I believe there is much we may learn in this room. On our next visit, I will have to enlist Istala's assistance for a thorough investigation. I too am curious about a great many things, but pinning down Silax's whereabouts is our priority. Hopefully, there is a security card here that grants access to the director's office. The research conducted in this lab appears to have been highly confidential in nature. Some of the personnel have belonged to the organization's upper echelons, and that means higher security clearance. We should spread out and look for any cards they left behind. Remember, anything less than a level 3 is no good to us. If those cameras are anything to go by, this lab was under constant surveillance. I'll scan the recordings and try to spot where people left their security cards. Maybe we'll get lucky. I keep holding out hope that I'll find some evidence of my parents here, despite knowing there is none. Maybe someone left a card on this shelf somewhere. I'll search through these drawers. One of us is bound to find something, I'm sure of it. Why were they making so many vessels? Did the other ones not work properly? This large stone crate is filled with document binders and other miscellaneous objects, none of which were security cards. The sturdy lurking shelving unit holds a storage crate and sealed barrels. No sign of any security cards. You find a security card in the cabinet drawer. Oh, did you just find a security card? Well, that's a stroke of luck. Let's have Shell examine it to be sure. Well, if it isn't exactly what we needed. Nice work, yo. Oh, a level 3. That should get us into the director's office. So, what was it you were hoping to find here again, Shell? You were saying that a certain device was going to help us? Right. I haven't properly explained myself, have I? I'm looking for a data relay. After we discovered this ostensibly abandoned complex, I performed a cursory investigation which detected a connection to an outside network. When I traced the data routing, I confirmed traffic from a web of Everkeep security cameras. Considering the way Silax is always one step ahead of us, we must assume he's quietly seized control of the city's surveillance systems and has been using it to monitor our activities. To monitor what you, as the keyholder, are planning. But since Silax is the ultimate recipient of those transmissions, the flow of data is like a river that we cannot follow back to him. Which is why I need the data relay. If I can analyze the device and see where it's routing all this surveillance traffic, then you can pinpoint Silax's position. That said, he has done nothing to impede our progress, which makes me think I might be in entirely the wrong track. Maybe the reason he isn't stopping us is because he can't. Back in the old castle, Silax said he was measuring Yo's strength. What can he possibly dream up that's stronger than her? Oh, speaking of cameras, there was one other thing I meant to mention. I found evidence that someone deliberately disabled the surveillance feed in this room. The most recent recording was also crudely deleted. I was able to restore the data though, if you'd like to see it. I'll start the show then.
Are you really planning to leave?
Yes. The idea of eternal life. It's begun to frighten me. I struggle to renounce our conventional wisdom. Death is the means by which life prunes its branches, leaving the trunk to grow strong and tall. We die so that our species may flourish. What would become of mankind were we to halt that process? If unending stagnation is the fruit of our labor, then perhaps we strive for the wrong thing.
Your argument is a rejection of Master Calix's vision.
I suppose it is. Perhaps such dread would not plague me, were I capable of sharing his perspective on the subject. But I cannot. He and I are too different, in too many ways. I lack his extraordinary genius. I had no illness threatening to cut my life short, no singularity of will to cut away all distractions and focus solely upon research. I have nothing but respect for his determination. The way he overcame his prognosis and seized the means to transcend death itself. But I'm not convinced that this obsession with living is the right path. That's why I've decided to leave preservation and put all my effort towards building a legacy for the next generation to come. Surely you...
Wow.
Protocol, you understand. There can be no exceptions.
She only wanted to leave and he executed her. I checked the images against the personal L data, and the man who pulled the trigger was Director Dermatarius himself. Everything I could find on him pointed to a deep infatuation with Master Silax. The cameras in his room have been out of operation ever since that incident. Given the recording was erased, I can only assume he was trying to conceal his grisly deed from the other researchers. I am not surprised, given how both my parents described their defection from the Institute. They spoke of rushing me through a portal, even as preservation agents closed in on them. I dared not ask what became of them after that, but if it turns out they were captured by the pursuers... They did not regret their actions. Right, the echo. Knowing you saw them as they were, your word gives me great comfort. Oh, Kryle. Worry not, Sphene. Thanks to the Haven of Living Memory, I was at least able to meet my parents and learn what they stood for. It is enough for me to carry on. Even now, we don't know how the conflict unfolded between your parents and preservation, but what we do know is that your mother and father cleverly expunged every last trace of their movements. They made sure no one could cross into the source or threaten their child's safety. Right, let's press on, shall we? This tale behind the key deserves a fitting conclusion. To the director's office. Was Alex the one who gave the order to execute defectors? The more we learn about him, the less I understand. I don't expect to find any information on my parents in the next room either, and that's something I can be proud of. Ooh. My earlier investigations put the data relay just past this door. Let's get it open, shall we? Hearing Kryle talk about her parents reminded me about how much I miss Namika. I guess I'll never really get over it. If that man in the recording was Director Demetrius, then this must be his office. A scanning device. It waits silently for You hold the level 3 security card up to the scanner. There we go. Let's head inside. Now to find that data relay. And don't be shy, everyone. Speak up if anything odd catches your eye. Yo, come with me. I might have need of that security card. This director, Demetrius, was very particular about how he decorated his office. We've got incense and bases and some kind of gem display. This is a report on reducing people to ether and how much energy can be harnessed per individual. Charming. Oh, my apologies. I was thinking about the key. Something odd. Something odd. Damn, this terminal isn't connected to any outside networks, so it can't be the data relay I'm looking for. This office is also smaller than the map suggested. I'm positive we're in the right room. What am I missing? Sorry, yo. Could I ask you and the others to search the office for any clues to this infuriating puzzle? The collection of soul cells may have once belonged to the director. They appear to be empty. You find a crumpled note wedged between the file binders. Secure room lift access requires passwords to be input simultaneously at terminals in the Proto Lab, the Turo Lab, and the director's office. Perhaps this discovery would be of interest to Shale. Having lain dormant for years, the now active coffee maker has already entered a self-cleaning cycle. It appears to have no other purpose beyond brewing coffee, though it remains to be seen when it will be able to do so once more. Fascinating. Amongst the other personal effects, you find what is presumably the director's data tablet. A closed locker stands next to the table. You pick up the tablet and begins skimming through the contents. Nothing of note. The mysterious key's activation condition remains unsolved. The key triggered an explosion today. Temporary interdimensional portal verified. Continued attempts to stabilize the core energy reactions. 13 researchers sustained fatal injuries in the explosion. Memory faculties of 4 personnel sufficiently intact for endless conversion. Remaining 9 designated for ether reclamation processing. Nothing of note. Rejecting resignations of 2 Malaya researchers. Major incident details in full report. Those 2 inept Malaya broke with preservation and abandoned with the key. Though the fugitives have since been caught and eliminated, we were too late to recover the relic. The only reason we retained our flesh was to serve Master Silex as physical instruments to conduct his experiments. Deprived of the object of our research, our existence serves no further purpose. I dare not imagine the depths of his disappointment in me. The complex is to be shut down. All personnel will have their bodies reduced to ether, which will be allocated for further experimentation. Memory data will be archived. Any endless conversions will be subject to Master Silax's discretion. If he does not deem us fit, we are not deserving of eternal life. All personnel have undergone processing. Once the shutdown protocols have been completed, I will proceed with my own corporeal dissolution. As long as the key remains in the physical world, we must keep this complex in pristine condition, whether it be needed for experiments or otherwise. It must be ready to support future operations in whatever capacity Master Salax requires. To that end, facility equipment will be maintained in stasis mode. Furthermore, a critical component for secure room access will be stored separately to defend against unauthorized entry. It contains nothing in note. You quietly shut the locker door. Oh, okay. Not what I expected at all. Have you found something? Thank you. A misplaced note, was it? With instructions for accessing a secure room, no less. Seems we need to enter a password on 3 different terminals at the same time. There was no such room marked on the map, was there? No, a precautionary measure, no doubt. And if passwords are involved, I expect the access lift itself is concealed too. Concealed by electrope, you mean? Could it be that wall? I thought it seemed odd when I walked past. Remember what Kachua used to say, Shell? Never trust an electrope surface. Of course, electrope is how you alter the look of all of Solution 9's floors and walls, isn't it? In which case, it shouldn't be too hard to disable. Another door. I've managed to deactivate the projection, but the lock is another story. Didn't that note lay out the password protocol? I say we go ahead and try it. I agree. 2 people should prepare the lab terminals for input, while the rest of us look for passwords here in the office. I'll take the proto lab. Then I'll take the Turo lab. Actually, it might be better if you stayed, Sveen. Your knowledge of Alexandria and his people could be needed here. Yes, you're right. The passwords are hiding behind clues. That may be something I can help with. I can help too. I lived my whole life in Alexandria after all. I will take Dirtro lab duty then. We can keep in touch via communicator to match our timing. Yo, you shall have the honor of entering the office password. Once we've determined what we need to input take place in this terminal, I'll stand guide Lamont and Crowell through the process. You know, there was that display plate over there, the one with the gems. I thought since it was made of electrope it might have some other purpose, but I couldn't find any switches or buttons to make it do anything. Maybe you could figure it out. 2 jewels are embedded in an electro plate. You identify the blue gem as sapphire and the red gem as garnet. There also appears to be an empty slot for a jewel to fill. Hey, cat. So I need a jewel. Huh. So you literally just have him solve the puzzle and then you put it in the thing. The gemstone. Oh, hold on, my door is open. I gotta close it. What? Pause. Okay. The gemstone fits snugly into place. Almost immediately afterwards, the glowing lines of a diagram appear on the display, accompanied by a short phrase. As you continue studying the display, you realize these shapes correspond to the rooms of the complex in which you now stand. This may be related to the passwords you were looking for. The glowing words appear to be handwritten. Yes, I knew the jewel would come in handy. Let me see. Heed the stones. This was me the special meaning Alexandrians have for gems. It's an old belief, I think, where each type of gem means something different. I bet if you asked Fiend, she could tell you more about it. After all, even her name comes from a gemstone. The thought. Yes, if you have any questions, you need only ask. Well, I was taught that Alexandria represents the concept of protection. It is incidentally also the origin of the Alexandria's name. Oh, were you thinking this has something to do with the passwords? A sapphire and garnet as well, you say? Yes, they all have meanings. Alexandria, as I said, is protection. Sapphire represents honesty, and garnet symbolizes devotion. We should try these words at terminals and see if they're accepted. I certainly hope we're right. Well, let's see. Go. Start with... Shit, where was... Where was the prototype? The proto lab, fuck. Alright. Proto lab. It's honesty. Oh shit, I got it right, yes. Sorry I didn't read all that, but I needed to think. Oh, I'm so glad that worked. That secure room is the only place we've yet to search. If the data relay isn't anywhere, it has to be there. We'll venture in as soon as Work Lamont and Crow rejoin us. We did it, thanks to you and a little bit of thanks to me, I hope. Great work, yo. Leave it to you to divine passwords from an ornamental display. Speaking of gemstone technology, for Alexandrians, Fiend holds the meaning of eternal light. When my parents named me, it was with their wish that I become an unwavering beacon of hope for our people. To think on it now, I have ever shared that destiny with my other self. Well, that one excellent clue finding, yo. Alright everyone, time to board the lift and see what awaits us.
This terminal doesn't look special to me, but this is definitely what we're after?
It is, but whether or not it will suffice for our purposes is another question.
The Endless are created using the memories of the deceased. But as memories are, in essence, collections of data, the resultant entities have no physical form. These data entities, as we might call them, have only two methods for interacting with the material world. One of these we saw in Living Memory, where the Endless are granted temporary bodies through the use of corporeal ether. They become much like solid ghosts that one can see and touch. The other method, which Kafkiwa employed, is the remote operation of a machine. But where do you suppose the Endless are to be found when not inhabiting a physical body?
The Endless are memories, and if memories are data, then...
Yes, we suspect they reside in a virtual domain, one contained entirely within an electro-based machine. We've seen such a realm before, after all.
Oh, you mean like the Alexandria made from the Endless Fiend's memories? It all seems so real.
So this virtual domain, it would also be housed within the Meso terminal.
But how? I thought we shut down all the terminals in Living Memory.
You did, and Kafkiwa's program performed just as she intended. The Meso terminal itself was deactivated, as evidenced by the failure of the device which was keeping Spheen's body in stasis. Be that as it may, we face a master of electrope engineering. That he managed to partition and protect the sector harboring his own memories is well within the bounds of possibility.
Let us say that the Meso terminal does indeed contain a second domain, and that Calyx himself resides there. This city, on the other hand, exists here in the source. That being the case, I thought perhaps we could prevent his remote interference by closing the gate to the Golden City, and thus severing the connection between worlds.
Except I tried to close it once already when I visited Living Memory. The process required administrative authorization, a restriction I assumed at the time had been imposed by the Queen.
But now you think Calyx might be responsible.
Just as I suspected. Even now, security transmissions from throughout the keep are being tapped by the core system and routed elsewhere. Almost every single one has you as its focus. He's keeping track of the keyholder's movements.
Time's up, and what a waste of time it's been. Hoping to find me by tracing security data? That will not be necessary. Through a not inconsiderable effort, I've taken your measure and prepared a force sufficient to subdue you. Come. I invite you to the upper reaches of the Meso Terminal. The storage device which holds my memories is there. Break the memory bank and victory is yours. I, in turn, will seek to wrest the key from you with any and every means at my disposal.
And if we refuse this invitation?
I will wait and continue to convert Alexandrians into Endless. Consider the urgency of the situation and make the wiser choice.
Answer me one question, Calyx. The Endless Fiend. When she was queen, you had her face an impossible task, then manipulated her into using the key when she was at her most desperate. If you can do all that, then why not whisk it away when her plans went to ruin? Why let it fall into our hands?
You pour salt in the wound. That disaster was a miscalculation on my part. As her end drew near, Sphene and her restructured memories had become one with the terminal's control systems. In that singular place, in that singular moment, she wielded an authority greater than mine. Thus she was able to shield you, the neighboring sovereign to whom she entrusted her nation's future, and the hero to whom she entrusted that priceless key. I am unsure to what degree she perceived my presence, but she knew that someone was watching. Does that satisfy your curiosity?
It does. And I'm satisfied that you will take nothing more from this nation. Not one more life, not one more future, not one single smile from another child's face. You hear me? Sorry for losing my temper, but there's only one way we can deal with people like Calyx. Whatever grand future he envisions, someone will be made to pay the price. And I won't let that happen.
If I may, I realize it is not my place to say this. Even so, I must thank you both. On behalf of my other self, allow me to say how grateful I am to have you as our champions.
Phew. Well, that was an adventure. It may not have been the method Shell was hoping for, but at least now we know where to find Silax and what we need to do next. Indeed, while I remain curious about Preservation's research into the key, that is an investigation for another day. Then let's head straight to the back room. We should get everyone on the same page before we make our move. Shell has been out of sorts since we got back. I don't think she liked what Silax said. But don't worry, I'll do my best to cheer her up. I passed on the short version of events to our comrades so that we can all prepare for the challenge ahead. It was my other self who entrusted you with the key. Though she could not change who she was, the consequences of her final choice linger, empowering us to shape our own future. It's time to put an end to this. Silax won't stop until we stop him. The situation isn't the best out there, but at least you've come back to us safe and sound. Damn it, the bastard Silax. He waited until I was this close before snatching away my moment of triumph. In that infuriating, condescending way he spoke to us. We'll see whose time is up, you smug little weasel. Anyway, I know things didn't go to plan, but we learned a great deal about preservation. That knowledge could come in handy in the days to come. Though I may not be able to contribute much to a direct confrontation, I meant to see this through with you all, providing whatever support I can. It's a shame that punching the Endless does no damage. I'd love to rearrange that serene face of his. Yo, we've briefed Aaronville on everything that has happened and sent word to the others. We've now but to consider what our next actions will be. Silax has offered you the opportunity to confront him directly. And though it feels much like striding face first into an ambush, we have little choice if we are to destroy the memories he supposedly has stored in the upper reaches of the Meso terminal. Then that is where we must go. While I'm still upset at being deprived at my moment, I nevertheless did my due diligence. I can confirm that the relay we found was indeed transmitting surveillance data to a device somewhere in living memory. When you go to fight Salax, pray let me fight alongside you. Let me fight for the memory of Otis and Zelina, and for the other Sphene I may have become, but most importantly, for my beloved kingdom and a joyful tomorrow. Force but no reckless heroics. Yes, understood. I promise not to subject myself or the party to needless danger. I'll be coming with you as well. You know my reasons. It hardly needs saying, but your fellow Scions also have every intention of accompanying you into battle. So adamant were Alize and the others on this point that they have already left for living memory. I am more than ready to do the same. I'll keep patrolling the streets for signs of trouble, especially from anyone wearing neo-regulators. Should you need anything else from me, I'll be on standby here in the back room. I really want to go with you too, but I know I can't. I know that sometimes you have to be patient and trust in your friends. Oh, yo, Kryle and I think that we should talk to Gossan before we leave for living memory. Under Silax's detection, preservation has helped shape Alexandria's society for centuries. Taking him down will have serious consequences, and we need to warn the officials in charge about what we intend. Justifications aside, we shall be acting against the wishes of all who desire to become endless. Exactly. We don't know if Gossan will approve of or oppose our chosen course, but either way, leaving without a word is the wrong thing to do. Come, we should be on our way. Resolution first, yes? Be safe, everyone. We'll see you when it's all over. I'll do whatever I can to help Sharon and Erenville. It may not be much, but small things add up when you can't do enough for them or do enough for them. As I said, I'll be ready and waiting, and when you have need of me, just make sure you come back in one piece. Even people from my village have taken to wearing neo-regulators. I can only hope it doesn't end badly. Don't you be letting up now, you hear? Let your passion carry you to the bitter end. Okay. see Gossens wearing a neo-regulator. We'll have some thoughts to share on this subject, I'll wager. The air is thick with a sense of unease, not less around Gossan himself. Government officials must be fielding demands from all quarters. I do not envy Gossen's his position.
I see. A difficult situation. In the absence of an official sovereign, I agree that it is not preservation's place to dictate the future of our nation. However, I also cannot simply take a side and declare my support for your efforts to defeat Calyx.
Is that because of the new regulator you wear?
I've yet to register it. I find myself caught between the fear of dying and the desire to carry out the duties of governance. My greatest concern is how we shall stem this ever-increasing terror of mortality when becoming endless is no longer an option. And that's to say nothing of the recent slaughter committed by our own soldiers. The fact that such violence was perpetrated for the very purpose of creating endless will, paradoxically, make it more difficult to endorse your chosen course. It may not seem logical, but for those who lost friends and family in the attacks, halting the creation process altogether would render the deaths of their loved ones utterly meaningless. Is it not cruel to rob them of what little solace they could claim, when we have only just learned what it is to mourn? Tell me, how are we meant to overcome such tragedies?
We stop begging others to teach us for a start. For the longest time, we've been protected by Queen Sphene and the systems put in place by our forebears. The hardships and responsibilities of life were distant things, and we felt entitled to our comforts, even as we barely noticed those who risked everything to keep us sheltered. But no more. From now on, we need to learn on our own. How to live with the promise of death. How to endure the pain of loss. We may never learn to love such things, but we may learn to survive them. The people beyond the barrier, even the Alexandrians of old, they've all had to live with these fears. There's no reason we can't do it too.
What are you all doing here?
Malachite called us in, and the Oblivion members briefed us on the current crisis. You don't stand idly by while your house burns down. We came together and thought about how we could help.
Long story short, we've decided to join the fight alongside Oblivion. I say fight, but we're well aware of how little use we'd be in actual combat.
A battle of ideas, on the other hand. Now that we might be qualified to do something about. We'll talk to our neighbors and do our best to quell their fears. Convince them to make the most of this life and enjoy all it has to offer. Perhaps that will help to ease your burden.
It certainly will. Even if a few are assuaged by your words, it will make things easier.
Those who have already registered will be difficult to sway, but there are still many who waver. Those are the ones we'll concentrate on.
Gossan, if you truly care for the people of Alexandria, then now's the time to start thinking of ways to prevent more deaths.
Were I to become endless at the expense of my countrymen's lives, I would regret it for the rest of my existence. Forgive my weakness. When the people have lost their way, it falls to the government to support and guide them. Alexandria can rise above this sorrow and find its way forward once more. Is that not so, Your Majesty?
Indeed it is. No, that wasn't... what I meant to say was...
Calm down, Sphene.
Lamity, you used her name.
The perfect resemblance to our beloved Queen Sphene has not escaped our notice. Yet we also understand that you are not her. Having to live in secret, unable to share who you really are, that must have been hard on you. When you come back, please tell us all about yourself. I imagine yours is a rather outlandish story, but we're eager to hear it all the same. You're one of us, an Alexandrian, and we don't abandon our own.
I promise to return. And when I do, I look forward to speaking with you all.
Sphene must be overjoyed to be welcomed by her countrymen. For their sakes, we need to bring her back safely. I'm glad we were able to hear the will of the Alexandrian people. Now it falls to us to see the rest of it through. It is a relief to be freed from my indecision. Until I had removed my regulator, I hadn't realized quite how heavy it weighed upon me. Everyone was so warm and welcoming. Alexandrians are, as ever, a stalwart people. How glad I am to be home. Thank you, Gossin. That decision must have been difficult to make. If only I could claim the courage to do so came from within. The final push came from Alexandria's citizens and their bravery in taking the first step towards change. Speaking of which, can I ask you to lock that Neo-regulator away where no one can get to it? That should prevent the registrations from reaching the target number. I should be glad to do so, but I fear it would be to no avail. According to our most recent surveys, the number of Neo-regulators in circulation exceeds the stated 5,000. I surmise the surplus units are to account for those like myself who had a change of heart or are otherwise hesitant to register. Ah, that does sound like something Silax would do. Well, we'll have to face him either way, so no point in delaying the inevitable. On to living the memory.
Things seem much the same.
So listen, you have nothing more to fear than any other normal day. Deep breaths. We'll get through this.
You'd be telling them much the same if you were here. I suppose it falls to me now.
Memento. Got that. We've all been so busy. It seems an age since last we gathered in such a manner. I must say we do make for a formidable group. 'Tis good to rejoin you all. I needed to step away briefly, that I might make arrangements for a certain precautionary measure. Coming here reminds me of my parents, of the courage they gave me. Seems Alphinaud and Alze were the ones to explain to Kohana our need to enter the sea note. He urged us to be extremely careful, of course. I had scarcely awakened here when I fell unconscious. Now that I can fully enjoy the gentle silence of this place, it brings tears to my eyes. Last time I had to wait in Sino, but there's nothing to stop me from joining this fight. Ah, 'tis good to see our comrades hale and girded for battle. As for us, we've been ahead to inspect the lay of the land. There were no changes to note, aside from what the Meso terminal itself. Why, what's happened to the Meso terminal? The wall was reseated to provide a convenient entrance into the structure's interior. There was no such ingress when last we were here. So we must assume that Silax has since manipulated the terminal's electrope, all to facilitate his most gracious invitation to the upper levels. An invitation I am eager to accept. For the sake of all who love Alexandria, I will not yield nor leave them to despair. I believe everyone determined to be here is present and accounted for. Excuse me. Shall we make our way to the Meso terminal? We shouldn't wish to keep our insistent host waiting. It's been so long since I've been in this spot. There is like a new... Can I just go in? No. It's purely cosmetic. So this is where the former queen's memories were stored, and she herself tried to erase them. Even as an endless, her resolve was so strong that she would kill her heart to become the cold machine she believed she needed to be. Living memory is steeped in the dense lightning ether of the ninth. This pervasive energy must be what the terminal utilizes as a power source. I remember little of my awakening. The paralysis yet lingered and my eyes could barely focus. An endless existence for the evolution of mankind. I understand what he strives for, but not what drives him to do so with such ruthlessness. It hadn't occurred to me that one might physically enter the terminal, although I suppose it makes sense when you think about it. A structure for creating endless would have required maintenance administered by corporeal hands. When we shut down all minor terminals, we watched as the endless faded away. I do not believe that was a performance staged to deceive us. As for the Meso terminal, however, it has already grown dark by the time we had returned from the virtual domain. While I am loath to admit it, 'tis possible its true appearance was hidden from us in our absence, which is why we must bring this tale to its denouement by our own hand. Well, here we go again, facing another battle to decide Alexandria's fate. For 4 centuries I slept here. Upon awakening, I found the world as I knew it had changed. I was so frightened at first, I couldn't recognize a single thing, and thought everything I loved had gone to dust. Yet, beneath the unfamiliar surface, much remained the same. For that, I give thanks to Otis and Zelina and their royal knights who lay their lives on the line to defend our way of life. I thank every Alexandrian who believed in our future and passed on our legacy. I thank my other self who so loved this kingdom of ours. And I thank you all for kindling this hope in my heart, this courage to take up arms and fight once more. So let us make our stand together and fight for what we hold dear. The kind and gentle Queen Sphene was too weak to serve her people, and so she will serve them no more. Freed from conscience, I shall become a ruler that can protect Alexandria, a devourer of worlds. That we shall. Or wish to see Alexandria endure is one I am happy to fulfill. Let's head inside and finish this. In the upper reaches of the terminal awaits the device which holds Syax's memories. It falls to us to make the climb and destroy it once and for all. We must bring matters to a definitive end. Will not suffer him to cause Alexandria further harm nor claim the key. The Queen entrusted it to Yo for good reason, and besides, 'twould be a tragedy indeed to relinquish a relic with so much research potential. Apparently, Silax thinks he's taking your measure. I urge you to correct that misjudged assumption. I wholeheartedly concur, yet would still counsel caution, that he would be so bold as to extend us an invitation bespeaks tremendous confidence in his preparations. Come, friends, we set forth into the midst of dreaming endless. Terminal is that's a dungeon, right? Yeah, it's a dungeon. Right? Yeah. Fuck it. Here, let me talk to everybody. I really do think you take on too much from too many people. And yet, it's never the wrong choice. The Queen gave you the key for a reason, so I'll be damned if I let Silax steal it. Silax scheme to forfeit flesh to gain immortality calls to mind the Ia. Not that informing him of their fate would do much to dissuade him. Convinced though you may be of this truth, it is yours, not mine, and no conclusion of yours, no matter how grim, can dampen my desire. Such was my reply to the Ia's warning, so I know a little something of refusing to listen, save when confronted with incontrovertible proof of my error. The Alexandria of today has seen countless lives come and go. My other self took their grief and fear and rage upon herself in service to our kingdom. Around me are gathered those willing to give all to fulfill their promise they made to her. How can I do any less? Alexandrians must be free to believe that more than sadness awaits them, that tomorrow can be better than today. As the vow of resolve, or even as just a comrade, I see myself making a lot of promises. I mean to honor every last one of them, starting with the oath I swore to the endless fiend. Even if it's just a memory, I want to think of her smiling at the promise kept. Tis beyond knowing how Silex has advanced his plan for endless conversion for the past 400 years. I do know, however, that pursuing an objective for lengthy plans requires an unyielding will, especially when that objective entails changing the world as we know it. Silex is a foe possessive of both considerable focus and resolve. We would do well to recognize him as such. If my parents were indeed executed by preservation, for me, this will not only be a fight for the greater good, this will be justice. If I'm to add an addendum to grandfather's account of the Golden City, then let it be this a rousing good one, eh? We have no idea what Silex may have planned for us. Alize and I are prepared for every eventuality, yet still. Nay, you must be free to lead our charge unhindered by doubt. As you press onwards, we shall guard the flanks. Okay, well, how am I doing on time? Hour and 17 minutes. I'm gonna call it here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I will start the next episode with a dungeon. Yeah. Peace.